listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Kau mendengarkan otakmu di udara. Program akan segera dimulai. Nikmati.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Happiest of Mondays, actually. I'm so happy to be starting my week and your week with y'all, ladies and gentlemen. I love Earth. I love humans. I love y'all, folks. Eric Swalwell loves you all, maybe a little bit too much. Eric Swalwell, ladies and gentlemen. He takes this endearing love of humanity, the world that I have, and that many of us have, and he takes this love and he inverts it, twists it into a perverted form of love, a lust, a sincere but terrible spin on this appreciation for life and nature. Former, I guess now, gubernatorial candidate, ladies and gents, Eric Swalwell, soon to be correspondent for Your Brain on Air Studios. He may have had some issues as of late. He will be our upcoming story that we plan to cover. He might be in a bit of heat, is what I'm hearing. What I have given my verdict to be on this case is that you do not drop out of the governor's race if you are not guilty. If you are being accused by multiple people at this point, I believe it to be, you don't drop out if none of these accusations even have a tinge of accuracy or whatever to them, of truth to them. So, I don't know. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. There's a lot of things that we could start out as our first story. Like, for example, there's a symbol, quite frankly, of what should be love persevering in all odds of this world. It ends up being a story that chills the heart. A college cheerleader, Laken Snelling, there we go, who is accused of secretly having a baby and then dumping the newborn in a trash bag, has pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree manslaughter. Listen. She is 22 years old. She's also charged with the abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and concealing the birth of an infant, which, listen, I didn't even know that feels like overreaching government, that you have to report every infant that's been born. Seriously, like, this feels like a little bit of tyrannical government overreach. I don't know. Maybe that's the libertarian in me, but I'm just going to say it. This should be a Mother Mary example. You know what I mean? 22 years old. You know what I mean? We're not talking about a middle schooler getting pregnant. This is a teenage pregnancy example. We're talking about like a young woman where admittedly you have a cheerleading career ahead of you. Sure. Let's pretend that is a potential career ahead of you. Let's be honest. This lady does not, based on her picture that you get of her and the brief look, it looks like she, just from the face, you can tell by people's faces that they don't have good ankles. She does not have the ankles to pull off a cheerleading professional career. Listen, and by the time that you're about 30, and that's pushing it, you're done with that career because nobody wants to see that.
She's a college cheerleader charged with dumping her newborn baby in a trash bag and leaving him to die. Today, she appeared before a judge at her arraignment.
She is not attractive. Listen, a lot of the gymnasts, they get this hair where it always looks slicked back. It always looks greasy, kind of like a mermaid, and that is the exact hair texture this girl's working with. I'm not a fan.
College cheerleader accused of an unspeakable crime appeared in court today. Laken Snelling, who cheered for the University of Kentucky, pled not guilty to charges of first-degree manslaughter.
We are in our not guilty plea.
Laken was once an all-star cheerleader.
It's good day!
She sparkled in her routines and maintained a lively social media presence. In this video, you can see
you can see that she was tubby.
Her performing while pregnant with a visible baby bump.
Ugh.
According to new court documents obtained by Inside Edition, Laken's roommates heard loud noises coming from her room at around 4 a.m., lasting for about an hour. Prosecutors say 5 hours later, Laken Snelling said...
How do you not ever go check... listen, I understand you don't care about your roommates. Most people don't even want to have them at this age. But how do you not check on them? For over an hour, they're making noise. This is... Cows give more quiet of birth. You know what I mean? Cows... you know how cows, they will kind of sit... They'll do a thing where they'll either... I've seen some do it standing for some reason, but there are most of them who lay on their side, and then it slides out of them. That is... Is this what this lady was doing?
A message to her roommates saying she had passed out, but they didn't believe her, and they say when they searched her room, they found a bloody towel. They say when they looked into the closet, they made a shocking discovery. It was Lakin's newborn baby found stuffed inside a garbage bag.
Oh my
Police
God.
later found Lakin at a McDonald's and placed her under arrest.
So is McDonald's, isn't it? Luigi Mangione, this bitch.
Lakin Snelling told police she thought her baby was dead when she placed him in that trash bag. If convicted, she's facing up to 20 years in prison.
So she'll be 43 or so, given the trial time, all that sort of stuff. She'll be about 43, 44 when she gets out. Was this one worth it? I will ask that. Just, was this one worth it, ladies and gentlemen? You could have been a fun example. They could have made a movie, or like you could have had a TLC show made about you, like a teen pregnancy, not a teen pregnancy, but a young adult pregnancy show. I am a teenager. I'm not a teenager, but I'm a cheerleader with 4 kids. That could have been your shtick. That could have been the thing that you do that gets you famous. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting a first look at 2 World Trade Center Tower. Listen, I'm already getting nervous because I feel like they're going to have to try to teach us another lesson. And you know that clip from SpongeBob? How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? We are getting our first look at 2 World Trade Center, the new headquarters of American Express. These new renderings show what is expected to be the 55-story tower, not lower, God, this font. And the final piece of the World Trade Center complex groundbreaking is set for spring, with the complex completion date expected to be around 2030. Very exciting. Let's take a look at this.
New at 11, a major announcement from the World Trade Center complex. This morning we learned groundbreaking for 2 World Trade Center will happen this spring. These are new renderings showing this building will be at 200 Greenwich Street. It's a 55...
It looks like something you'd build in Minecraft. It's kind of one of the ugliest things I've seen in my life. Okay, let me describe this to you. I will put it in the description if you want to take a look at it. It is a series of rectangles going upward into the skyline that are completely reflective glass. So they just show you what the skyline looks like around it. It is completely reflective. It's very well paned glass, admittedly. However, I hate this thing where all offices, for some reason in the 1950s, I can't remember when the building code was established, but I can't remember exactly the dates, but they said you do not have to open office windows. So all of a sudden, you see glass towers showing up all over the place. So this one is another example of a glass tower. Just huge beam pillars and whatever, and then glass that is never going to open. I am, like, the way that this is laid out, it looks like something you'd see in The Incredibles or a Pixar movie. This looks like something that would be a joke about how our cities will look in the future. It's a 55-story tower. I mean, it looks beautiful enough. That's all I'll say.
Tower, and it will become the final piece of the World Trade Complex. It will be the new American Express headquarters, and American Express will be the only occupant of the new building. It's expected to be fully completed in the year 2031.
Well, maybe I'll go visit it, although I will not be able to stop being nervous that it will be that day that, like, terrorists hit. Because you always think that and I hear this from people who've been to New York, where they were like, oh, I went to the Empire State Building, I went to all of these sorts of places, and they say, because I've never been, I'll tell you forthright, I've never been to New York City, but I've heard from people that went up to the top of these sorts of things, they go, every time you're up there on the top of these spires or like these lookout bridges or these whatever that you call them, these the gate area where you can lean and you can take pictures wherever, but you're on the top of the building, they always tell you you always have the fear when you see a plane that it'll start heading your direction. You always have the fear that it's like, what if today is the day that they strike? Because who knows, you know what I mean? You always think that in the back of your mind as a New Yorker, you always think that in the back of your head as an American, you kind of always have that weird aura when you're in a major city. You're kind of like, this feels weird. You know what I mean? The tall buildings in general don't feel right. They used to have an aesthetic where you felt like you could party in them. We're kind of getting that. In many ways, the Miami towers are bringing back that party aesthetic. In many ways, we're starting to bring back the comfortability with the skies again, but there was a real tangible fear post 9/11 where it's like, tall buildings, ditch them. Any like major beautiful complex that it just stretches into the sky, out. You need to abandon it. Even the Pentagon wasn't safe, and that was however many stories. But ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into our first story. We got the U.S. Saying they're going to impose their own naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump also in a fight with Pope Leo. I don't know whose side to pick here. The OG Pope Leo from Chicago or Donald Trump. I don't know whether or not. I need to hear both of their points. We're going to talk about both of these stories. Let's go. The geopolitical landscape, ladies and gentlemen. Let's review it. We're in uncharted territory, the Bermuda Triangle. Check your maps, set your compasses, your daylight clocks. I don't know. President Trump has announced that the United States is going to establish its own independent naval blockade around the Strait of Hormuz. Ladies and gentlemen, get on the boats, because guess what? This is going to be we're not going to have experienced Navy men out there. We're going to have the Walmart crowd. These are going to be people who are sitting on coolers, paddling with their own, like, their own plastic yellow-looking things. They got their fish and shit, and you got people from fucking Minnesota who they're like, I got this walleye lure, and I was going to see what I could catch here in the, I heard we're passing by the Gulf of Oman, and I don't know what they got in there, so we're going to check it out and shit like that. And I'm excited because I think a lot of people are really this ground deployment. It's only going to be staffed by like the people who vote, not the people who like are trained for this. And I'm very, very excited. This draft that they're going to have coming up, it's only going to be the least experienced people. We are looking at this after Iran repeatedly shuttered the waterway, and in response to the regional fighting, the president now says the U.S. will take total control of the choke point and dictate which vessels are allowed to pass. The White House also describes the mission as a global energy security zone, but international legal experts warn that the unilateral blockade by the U.S. could be viewed as an act of war by neutral or hostile nations alike. It's debatable. While the naval standoff is intensifying, the president has also opened up a startling new diplomatic front. I mean, we debate with Catholics all the time, and they're Luciferian. They're not real Christians. We already had the Great Skit. We had all of this stuff. We had all of these situations that made it very, very clear. We're going to have two different sects. One will follow the gospel more closely, and one will fall towards objectifying. They have multiple. They're polytheistic. They have saints. They make these saints gods. And this is just when you get deep into the lore of the Catholic Church, you begin to understand that it's all about power. It's all about crusades in the modern world, whatever. You can talk about this for hours, but I'm trying to say, you in no way have to honor what the Catholic Church says or what they do. Sure, their faithful people might be very nice. I know plenty of Catholics that I don't mind. I love them. They're good people. But the Church itself is Luciferian, and it's terrifying. And if you look into its lore, you'll learn that. But Pope Leo, there's a series of verbal attacks against him. The friction began after the pontiff issued a rare, urgent encyclical, god damn it, over the weekend, condemning the escalation of military pride and specifically criticizing the use of energy blockades that threaten the bread of the poor, in his words. President Trump fired back in a late-night press briefing, dismissing the Pope's concerns as meddling and suggesting that the Vatican should focus on its own internal affairs rather than dictating American security policy. They do have plenty of problems that they could focus on. The war of the words with the Vatican is creating a complex domestic situation for the administration, particularly among the president's Catholic constituents, who are already navigating a surge of religious engagement. Political analysts are suggesting that picking a fight with the Pope while simultaneously tightening the grip on the world's most sensitive shipping lane is a high-stakes gamble designed to project a no-compromise image on the global stage. It's not going to turn out, I don't think, as aura-farmy as he wants it to. First, U.S. warships are moving to their blockade positions today, April 13th. The world is watching to see if this dual-front confrontation will lead to a diplomatic breakthrough. It's very unlikely, in my personal opinion. We don't even have to listen to AlJazeera, but we're going to.
A blockade on your blockade. After failing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. now says it will impose its own naval blockade. If you can't beat them, join them. Netanyahu says the war will continue a day before ceasefire talks with Lebanon begin, and Trump versus the Pope. scathing words for the head of the Catholic Church after the pontiff criticized the war on Iran. Here's what happened over the last 24 hours.
Tell me.
Well, we're going to be blockading. It'll take a little while, but it'll be effective pretty soon. They haven't left the bargaining table. I predict they come back and they give us everything we want. And I told my people, I want everything. I don't want 90%. I don't want 95%. I told them, I want everything.
In a surprising countermove, the U.S. now says it will impose its own blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. Hours after ceasefire talks fell through in Islamabad, Trump said the U.S. Navy would begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. He also called Iran's blockade of the strait an illegal act of extortion. Then U.S. Central Command clarified that slightly, saying that starting 10 a.m. Eastern Time, only vessels departing Iranian ports in coastal areas would be stopped. So effectively a checkpoint somewhere here, further away from Iran's coast.
Kind of near the biggest Mississippi mouth of it.
This won't be so simple. For one thing, Iran has effectively narrowed the traffic lanes through the strait by threatening to plant sea mines in this area. This forced all the traffic into this narrow pathway between Qashm and Ladakh Islands. So even vessels that aren't coming from Iranian ports still have to go through Iranian waters. The U.S. says it's deployed 2 destroyers to clear any mines in this area, but Iran says it will attack anyone who tries. By doing this, Iran has also managed to squeeze the strait from around 50 kilometers in distance at its narrowest point to less than 10 kilometers. In order for the U.S. to patrol the mouth of the strait, it will need to cover more than 300 kilometers. That is a huge distance. So why is the U.S. doing this? Clearly, it's trying to take away Iran's leverage. Over the last 2 weeks, a number of countries have been talking directly with the IRGC to negotiate safe passage. There's also reports Iran could be charging up to $2 million for each vessel.
And one thing I've noticed about all of these diplomatic meetings or whatever, it's a lot of men that just walk around in suits together. Some of them are all black suits. Some of them are the traditional white with a tie, maybe. But a lot of them, they just walk around in palaces together, and then they talk about, like, your oil this, my thing this, whatever. And then they walk away and they go, yeah, things didn't go too great.
By blocking its ability to do this, Trump hopes he can pressure Iran's leaders to give in to his demands at the negotiating table and save face for what's been a humiliating stalemate for the U.S. But there's something else. Trump wants to punish the countries that are dealing with Iran behind his back and who've refused to lend military support to the U.S. to reopen the strait by force. That includes his NATO allies like France and Germany, but it also includes China, who buys the majority of Iran's crude oil. And after this announcement and news of failed negotiations in Pakistan, markets in Asia fell, and the price of Brent crude shot up past $100 a barrel yet again. And Trump lashed out at Pope Leo over his objections to the war. In a Truth Social post, the U.S. president called the Chicago-born pontiff weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy, and saying that the only reason he was chosen as pope was because of his nationality, because the church believed it was the best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. This was in response to a number of recent comments from the Pope. Last week, he posted on X that anyone who followed Jesus Christ, quote, is never on the side of those who once wielded the sword and today drop bombs. Then on Saturday, he seemed to address Trump directly.
Enough of this idolatry of self and money. Enough of this display of power. Enough of war. True strength is shown in serving life.
So how did the U.S. president respond? By posting a picture of himself depicted as Jesus Christ, healing the sick as F-35s flew overhead. America.
האויבים שלנו, איראן וציר הרשע, הם באו להשמיד אותנו, וכעת הם נלחמים פשוט על ההישרדות שלהם.
Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to continue fighting in Lebanon, even as talks are scheduled to start in Washington on Tuesday. Israel has continued to bomb South Lebanon, killing 4 members of the Said family in the town of Sarifa. The family was gathered to attend the burial of their father during what they thought was a pause in fighting when the ceasefire with Iran was announced. And Hezbollah says it's fired more rockets into northern Israel as direct fighting with Israeli forces in South Lebanon escalates.
Well,
Lebanon's government says it's committed to ending the war with Israel through negotiations.
we'll see. We will continue the war, which is not our choice, to ensure Israel withdraw from all our
That's it
lands.
from me today. Stay with us on AlJazeera for
AlJazeera.
more updates in the war on Iran.
I will stay with you for more updates on the war with Iran. But in the meantime, I actually have had enough of the Middle East talk, quite frankly. It's what we're talking about every day. The Middle East is always the dominion over the news. So I'm going to pay a little more attention to the homeland with this next story. Homelander, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about The Boys' final season. We're talking about Eric Swalwell dropping from the California governor bid following allegations. My opinion on this: you don't leave the race if the allegations aren't true. Let's begin. Representative Eric Swalwell has officially suspended his campaign for governor of California, a sudden exit that has sent shockwaves through the state's political establishment. This man was the front runner. He was everybody's kind of favorite option for the next California governor position, him, or I believe it was the woman who beats up her husband. And I think a lot of people are not, they're not in favor of that energy right quite now, because honestly, we need someone who's going to succeed the smarminess, the energy that Gavin Newsom brought to the position. I'm not going to say slimy. Everybody goes that route. I'm not going to go that route of criticizing Gavin Newsom. He is not going to even say American Psycho-y. I'm going to say that he is ghostly. He haunts many people the way that he presents. His skull very much presents through his skin texture. He has this very ghastly papyrus type of view to him, a very long, narrow type of face, and he haunts people. He is like a ghost ride. I'm just trying to paint a picture for people, because this is not a visual show, but I try to be visual in my descriptions. But this is not about Gavin Newsom, as he will likely be our next president, depending on, I think that the choices we have right now, Rubio and Vance. For the other side, neither options look great. They look like they're going to be embracing a techno future. Admittedly, we're going to be getting that no matter what we do with all the options that we have. Gavin Newsom is for sure going to be the candidate. Kamala Harris keeps teasing that she's like, I want to run in 2028. Everybody needs to remind her that 24 happened, everyone spat in her face, and disrespected her openly, and she is not the Yas queen that everybody thought that she was. All of the hype around her campaign was an imagined energy. It wasn't genuine. They didn't show up in the polls. This lie that it was the closest American election in the modern century, I believe that she means that includes the 2000 election, which included, Gore v. Bush, which apparently everybody memory holes that and goes, nope, Kamala Harris v. Trump, closest election in history. Hillary Clinton's was closer, ladies and gentlemen. At least she won a few swing states. Meanwhile, Trump took all of them in 24. So let's cut the bullshit. Kamala was never this popular candidate. She was never this one that was going to be sweeping the whatevers. Her husband beat up his ex-girlfriend. He was poison for her campaign, because let's just face it, Democrats cancel people authentically more so than Republicans ever will. That's actually what my advice for Eric Swalwell would be here, is that he could run as a Republican for governor, and I think that he would actually stand a good chance. The East Bay Democrat, who served in Congress since 2013, announced his withdrawal late Sunday evening, citing a desire to protect his family from the distraction of recent headlines. Blah, 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 blah. Sure, you piece of shit. Swalwell's departure leaves a massive void in the 2026 primary field, where he had been campaigning on a platform of high-tech infrastructure and aggressive gun control measures. Thank God we're not going to get rid of that. Honestly, there's too many regulations in that state as is. I always try to jam in more words than I need to. The allegations referenced in the announcement center on a series of investigative reports regarding the campaign finance irregularities and renewed questions concerning the past professional associations, while Swalwell has vehemently denied any legal or ethical wrongdoing, labeling the claims as a coordinated political hit. Mounting pressure from donors and party leadership reportedly made his path to the governor's mansion untenable. In a brief statement to supporters, the congressman emphasized that he remains committed to his work in Washington, but believes the current climate would prevent a substantive conversation about California's future. Oh, whatever. The current climate. Everybody tries to blame the current climate. Everybody's like, listen, I think that this is very, very, like, I think that this is something where a guilty man does not run away, right? An innocent man does not run away. I got to work on my English. An innocent man does not try to flee a persecution. An innocent man who, knows that the trial will be fair, which admittedly, in politics, the trial isn't always fair. However, you are dealing with accusations that you claim have nothing behind them. They are unsubstantiated. They are from years ago, or they're from however long ago, and they have no standing in any legal era nowadays, so why would you even worry about them? That was mostly the defense that I heard from you on Friday when we covered this case. However, now you are claiming that this is bad enough to where you need to protect your family from allegations that are apparently unsubstantial. If these were so unsubstantial, you would be in the governor's mansion, apparently denying these a couple years from now. You would be like 2 years out in your first term or whatever, and you would be running the state fantastically. You'd be hugging your kids. You'd be having your wife on the podium, all that sort of stuff. You'd be looking like a prime family man, and then you'd be like, I'm glad we left all that silly accusation stuff in the past. That's what an innocent man does. However, he goes ahead and he steps aside. This is very Al Franken. This is Al Franken in the sense where Al Franken, I don't believe that he should have ever stepped aside. I think that the stuff that they had against him was mid-tier at the best. Sure, he took a gag photo where he grabbed a lady and maybe looked a little uncomfy. Listen, she had her clothes on. I'll at least say that, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, he has a weird sense of humor. It's unfortunate, but Al Franken was an effective senator. Eric Swalwell, I don't know, his tenure wasn't nearly as seasoned. His brisket didn't spend nearly as much time in the oven, as the Jews like to say. So let's cover this latest scandal from Swalwell out of the race.
Swalwell was considered the Democratic frontrunner in the race for California governor, but all of that has now come to an end. Well, he has suspended his campaign. He has not resigned from Congress, despite a growing number of lawmakers and dozens of former staffers calling for him to do so. And we do want to warn you that some of the details of these accusations are disturbing. Overnight, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell suspending his campaign for governor of California. The move coming just days after multiple accusations of sexual misconduct surfaced, ranging from lewd text messages to rape, an allegation Swalwell has denied. On Sunday, he wrote, "I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past."
Let me read the whole thing to you guys. This is Eric Swalwell, 8:36 p.m., April 12th, 2026, 6.2 million views. Eric Swalwell, I am suspending my campaign for governor. To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. That does not sound like a plea an innocent man would make, right, ladies and gentlemen, or am I just retarded? I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's. What? That's a weird... Okay, I'm going to read that final line so that we can get it one more time. I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's. What does he mean by, but that's my fight, not a campaign's? That's a bizarre... Okay, whatever. He's trying to act I'll take it all on myself.
I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's. Swalwell is still facing growing calls to resign from Congress.
Just do it.
These allegations are despicable.
Representative Swalwell needs to go.
55 of Swalwell's former congressional and campaign staffers have also signed an open letter demanding his resignation and calling for a full and thorough investigation. On Friday, the San Francisco Chronicle and CNN reported allegations of varying degrees of sexual misconduct from at least 4 women. Swalwell speaking out over the weekend.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false.
Flat
I've certainly
false.
made mistakes in judgment in my past.
What are you? Why would you? What? If I was being accused of anything, the first thing I would not do is go, I did not do. There's a plane flying over. Sorry, that's just whatever. The first thing I would not do is I would not set up a camera at home, and I would not proceed to look in the camera and go, I have not done any of these accusations. Sure, I've made a couple mistakes in my past, but that just is never a tag on that you need to do.
Those mistakes are between me and my wife.
What? Now you're making me think that you beat her.
Degrees of sexual misconduct.
What are you talking about?
Swalwell speaking.
This
out
guy
over
is
the
self-reporting.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false.
Oh my
I've
God.
certainly made mistakes in judgment in my past.
Oh my God.
But those mistakes are between me and my wife.
His
Eric Swalwell, his attorney, what?
attorney sending this cease and desist letter to a former staffer who detailed 2 instances in which he says Swalwell sexually assaulted her while she...
Bro, you need a new attorney. This is your Brain on Air law firm. This is actually, I'm Ollie Vogt Larson. Nice to meet you, Eric. Can you sit down, actually? We're going to meet at we'll meet at like a Waffle House or something like that. We'll meet at a very nice, we got a couple diners here in town, and I'll just take you out for something. And we can go ahead and we can discuss the details of this case. Look at this these bitches are trying to drag you through the mud. It's just a really, listen, they're trying to Me Too era this. They're trying to make it so that this thing has a Me Too era, like a 10-year anniversary here. And we're already, okay, the first major Me Too thing, that was like 2016, 2017. I think it was 2017 when the campaign came out. They're trying to do a major 10-year anniversary. And guess what? That shit died like 5 years ago. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to ignore these charges. This shit, you're talking about accusations and shit that floated around the time of George Floyd. This shit does not fly around the time of post-COVID. Okay, listen. Eric Swalwell, sit with me, look at me, and watch me. I'm going to tell you the path that we're going to go forward. You are going to get private investigators. You're going to dig up details on these women's lives. You're going to find like where they work. You're going to have somebody follow them. You're going to see if they have anything that you can blackmail them with. Listen, this is a satirical show. We're just having fun. You cannot come after me for anything. You're going to make sure that these women have like dirty lives. If you don't find anything that is like, if they're not cheating on a spouse, if they're not stealing from work, if they're not, any number of things, if they're not beating up old women for money, if they're not any of that, you can plant things on them. There is such a thing as like sheriffs all over. Every cop knows exactly what I'm going to mention here right now. You can take this little thing called a baggie of cocaine that you can get from any variety of sources. I'm not saying where to get it. I'm not saying whatever to do. Cops, they just pull it from the evidence room, and then they just, guess what? When they pull somebody over and they need to make quota that month, boop, they drop it in the passenger seat. They go, oh, what's this? What did I just find here? And then you go like, what the fuck is that? And then they go, what's this, buddy? What's this baggie right here? And you go, I literally, do I seem like I'm on coke? And they go, you seem a little nervous. And then they take you in. That's what I'm just trying to say, is that you can do this to these women, ruin their lives before they have the chance to take you to court.
She was intoxicated. Manhattan's district attorney's office has launched its own investigation into...
Okay, wait a minute. She was intoxicated. If she was intoxicated, how can she even know that she was sexually assaulted?
Former staffer who detailed 2 instances in which he says Swalwell sexually assaulted her while she was intoxicated.
Your memory is faulty.
Manhattan's district attorney's office has launched its own investigation into one of those occurrences, which is alleged to have taken place in a New York City hotel room in 2024.
How nice.
My flash that I can recall.
He had the niceness to buy you a hotel, and now you're coming out against him. What are you doing?
I was pushing him off of me, saying no.
NBC News has verified the woman worked for Swalwell, though her attorney declined to provide any comment. Another accuser, Democratic influencer Ali Samarco, tells NBC News when she was 24, Swalwell offered to help her get a job on Capitol Hill before he began sending her inappropriate texts and nude images over Snapchat.
Where are those nude images? Where are those inappropriate texts? Prove it. Prove it.
I'm running to be the next governor of California.
Now, less than 5 months after launching his campaign for California governor, the 47-year-old father of 3's political future is in doubt.
This guy looks like he's going to sell you towels on TV in a few years.
A growing number of Democratic House members say they would back a motion to expel Swalwell from Congress. Meanwhile, his attorney has said the congressman is denying any wrongdoing and questions the timing of these allegations. Voters in California can start dropping off their primary ballots in just 22 days.
Yeah, you got to dump that bitch. Whoever your attorney is currently, that loser, that guy that you've got running your defense, your PR, all that bullshit, come over to your Brain on Air Studios, Eric, and we're going to hook you up. We're going to ruin, everybody needs to share this video right now with Eric Swalwell, and we are going to save this man's career. You will be governor for 45 years. You will be, I know know they just said that you're 40-something right now? You will be governor until you're 80-something. I can promise you that. If you just entrust me as your legal expert, if you come on here, if you give us a little bit of political inside information, if you're like, yeah, I went to Bohemian Grove, I went to the ceremony, they almost selected me for governor, but then the owl spat out, they started to cry blood and whatnot, and it started to spit out children limbs, and then that they said that was a sign that my governorship, my campaign was cursed. And I didn't believe them at the time because they were all wearing robes, and I just thought that all this shit, I thought they just did that to fuck with me. I honestly, and then they said, oh, we can't do this right now. They said that we need to get somebody else in here right now. And then they sent me away. I thought that this whole ceremony thing was just some bullshit that they did in order to get you into the political climate. I need you, Eric, to come here and confirm that happened. I need you to come here and tell us all the information about how they select people to run for Congress, about how the blood ceremonies work, how often you need to sacrifice children. Can you confirm to us that these are the children that are disappearing off of the streets? These are the children whose faces you see in Walmart in the missing section. Can you confirm to us that this is where McDonald's gets the teeth that you find in your chicken nuggets? Please, we need you to confirm all of it. We need it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a truth seeker and nothing more than that. Eric Swalwell out of the race. What does that leave us with, ladies and gentlemen? They're going to begin their selecting of who will be the governor. Who's at the top of the list right now? Top candidates for California governor. God damn it. There we go. Perfect. Thinking, as of April 2026, following the exit of Representative Eric Swalwell, leading candidates include billionaire activist Tom Steyer, very curious, and former Representative Katie Porter. Katie, you are going to be a great one. And Republican commentator Steve Hilton. He might be an interesting one. Notable contenders, whatever. Katie Porter, big fat 52-year-old Katie Porter. I love her. She is a moon pie face. She looks like an aunt that I had we used to call her moon pie face because she has this really round, this short haircut that makes her face look really fat. It's just not her fault. It's just an accusation that she can't deny. That's just the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the rapid fire section of today's headlines. A lot of things that we need to cover in order to keep your media diet healthy that I'm not going to go ahead and give 2 to 3 paragraphs to every little thing. So, apparently newly unsealed court documents are revealing a full, handwritten, maybe CIA planted confession from Charlie Kirk's accused assassin Tyler Robinson to his trans lover Lance Twiggs, Twiggs. Charlie Kirk's accused assassin. We have this newly unsealed court documents that have brought to light a full handwritten confession from Tyler Robinson, the individual accused of plotting to assassinate Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of holes there. The gun, he pulled it apart, and then he managed to put it in his backpack, and then he climbed up, and then he put it back together, and then he managed to make that shot. Even though when you put a gun back together, you have to resight it, you have to get it calibrated, you got to take a couple example shots, all of that sort of shit. But apparently he took a perfect shot at his throat, and also the gun that he apparently used, even though it's designed to kill elk and routinely has gone through their spines, for some odd reason didn't exit out the back of a human being's neck. That thing is a lot softer than an elk's neck. I don't know if you know anything about hunting, but even with my minimal experience that I have with around guns and whatnot, even with my limited, I would say beginner NRA knowledge, you know what I mean? I would say that I know that there's some suspicious factors around this entire shooting that make everybody go, I'm a little curious. I don't know exactly if they're giving us all the information that they have. And apparently this is from a confession from Tyler Robinson, the individual that is accused of plotting to assassinate Charlie Kirk, a confession that was made to his transgender lover Lance Twiggs. The unsealed documents provide a detailed account of Robinson's alleged involvement and intentions. The confession, penned by Robinson himself, offers a critical piece of evidence in the ongoing legal proceedings. Let's hear a little bit about it from the New York Post.
Newly unsealed court documents revealed a full handwritten confession from accused Charlie Kirk killer Tyler Robinson.
Doesn't that feel weird? Like, a full handwritten confession. Can I see former handwriting from him? Can I see like a couple of examples from him so that I know that this is his real handwriting?
To his trans lover. The sick note in which Robinson refers to his roommate and lover Lance Twiggs as Luna was made public in full on April 9th. as Robinson remains held for allegedly shooting the popular conservative media personality from a rooftop at Utah Valley University in September 2025. Luna, if you are reading this per my text, then I am so sorry, the note begins, presumably referring to a text Robinson had reportedly sent Twiggs moments after the assassination, telling his partner to, quote, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." A search warrant affidavit obtained by Fox 13 confirmed the handwritten note was found under Twiggs' keyboard at a St. George, Utah townhouse shared by the couple. "I left the house this morning on a mission and set an auto text. I am likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. I don't know if I will/have succeeded, but I had hoped to make it home to you. I wish we could have lived in a world where this did not feel necessary. I wish I could have stayed for you and lived our lives together. I lack the words to express how much I love you and how very much you mean to me. Please try and find joy in this life. I love you always, Tyler." Texts between Robinson and Twiggs have shown that the capital murder suspect had been planning the grisly killing for, quote, "a bit over a week," and offered insight into his train of thought in the moments after the shooting, as law enforcement launched a sweeping manhunt for the perpetrator. Robinson and Twiggs, who authorities said was transitioning from male to female, also made a plan to rendezvous at their home. Twiggs, who responded that they were at their parents' house, devised a plan to flee the family home without raising suspicion and go see the confessed killer. It's unclear if any reunion between the couple took place before Robinson's father turned him into authorities the day after the incident. Robinson, who could face the death penalty if convicted of aggravated murder, is being held behind bars until his trial concludes.
I think we should give him the death penalty just because of how ugly he is. We got to get that face out of the gene pool. He worries me for the future of this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of the future of this nation, we're not talking about our nation, we're talking about the nation of Canada. We dropped a new, we have a new acronym, that is for the LGBTQ+, whatever community. I remember when it was LGBT at one point. I think that it should just be LGB, and then the TQ can find their own sort of thing. LG and B, lesbian, gay, and bisexual, they sort of belong to their own category. It's sort of a thing where they still agree that gender is real, gender is an actual concept, and then everything beyond that is sort of, it's non-binary, it's transgender, it's playing with the lines a bit more. That is sort of its own category, and I think that we don't divide it off enough, quite frankly. Ladies and gentlemen. So, we have a new acronym. Make sure that you are all caught up with this, and make sure that you all remember this, because if you don't, it means that you hate every person who belongs to this category. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. If you do not remember that, you are a bigoted piece of shit, you're a transphobe, you're a women hater, you're a misogynist, you're somehow a misandrist as well, because you hate transgender people who are of the transgender ideology that they are a man. You hate everybody, you are evil, you need to go live in a cave away from society. And this was dropped in, was it Toronto? I don't know when this was. Hold on. A recent conference in Canada became the focal point for online discussions because of the use of this acronym. Let's take a look at what this lady has to say.
When the budget was released, I was shocked to find out that Prime Minister Carney is cutting $7 billion between Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. This is abhorrent. This is callous.
Listen, I think it's great. I'm all for inclusion. And at this point, the flag is just going to be a swath of shit. It's just going to be a brown, like it's going to be so many colors to the eye at a distance. It's just going to look like a shade of brown or green or like a dark, like olive or something. It's just this ugly tan color at a distance because there's so many colors packed in on it. It's like we're going to have orange for the Namibians. We're going to have green for the Egyptians. We're going to have light or chartreuse for the Greeks. We're going to to have, it's going to be based on like cultures at this point. And then eventually we're going to have one for every township. We're going to be like, we're going to have one for the Frisians. We're going to have opal green for the Minneapolisites. And then it's just going to be a crazy collage of colors at one point, and it'll be too many to list. Actually, the acronym will be the MLNMIPLJ. I can't think of any more letters. Ladies and gentlemen, should marriage between first cousins be banned in Florida? Governor Ron DeSantis is advocating in favor of establishing a law to prevent first cousins marrying each other in the state of Florida. I thought this man believed in true and utter freedom.
Florida doesn't ban cousin marriage, and that's a hanging curveball for us to do. We need to do that. Other states have done it. I don't know why we wouldn't.
Definitely surprised. I wasn't aware that was something we were just doing out there. I wasn't aware of that. Definitely, it's kind of like teeter-tottering between the lines of like inbreeding, but not really. But at the same time, it's pretty close.
But not really.
Kind of playing with fire. And I think that's a lot.
Even between second cousins, it's been proven that effects can show up. It's just a fact, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, honestly, I could care less. I mean, it doesn't affect me.
Oh my God, of course. I love the Floridian libertarians that show up now and then. A machete-wielding suspect who called himself Lucifer stabbed 3 people on the subway platform in Midtown Manhattan's Grand Central Terminal on Saturday before officers fatally shot him, according to the New York Police Department. CNN's Gloria Pazmino reports from Grand Central Station. She's on the ground. She's probably going to get stabbed herself.
The individual was armed with a large knife, described as a machete, and was behaving erratically, repeatedly stating that he was Lucifer.
Well, the 42nd Street subway stop inside of Grand Central Terminal,
I'm
one
Lucifer.
of the busiest train stations in New York City, remains.
Guys, you are going to go out on public transport. You're going to go out. You're going to step outside your house, ready to experience an adventure, ready for whatever the day brings you. You're going to be happy. You're going to be well-fed. You had a Nutri-Grain bar. You're feeling great about your morning. And then some dude is going to walk up and he's going to be wearing a coat. It's going to be fucking 98 degrees outside. He's wearing a coat, a hat, and fingerless gloves, stabs you in the gut, leaves you for dead, takes your bag, all of your shit. And then kids play on the sidewalk right past you.
It's closed while police investigate after they say a man who was riding the subway pulled out a machete and attacked 3 passengers.
According to a review of security camera footage, Griffin entered the subway system at the Vernon Boulevard station in Queens at around 9:30 this morning. He then boarded a 7 train to Grand Central Station.
He wanted to take a brief tour from Queens to Grand Central Station. Beautiful route if you love looking at the underground terminals.
He slashed 1 individual on the 7 train platform before moving upstairs to the 456 platform, where he slashed 2 additional victims.
Hell yeah.
The victims suffered serious injuries but are expected to survive. Police say that officers who were patrolling the station responded to the incident. They engaged with the suspect, asked him to drop the weapon.
The individual refused to comply with at least 20 orders to drop the knife. Officers also attempted to de-escalate and offer assistance, saying, "We are going to get you help." He then advanced toward the officers with the knife extended.
Now, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said in the last few years, the NYPD has added additional officers to make sure that they're patrolling the stations and help passengers feel safe.
No one feels safe, ladies and gentlemen. No one feels safe nowadays. Actually, it's a very fun time to be alive. Minnesota fraud suspects flee the country days before his trial. Listen, I hate that every other person that I check the stories, I always try to assume the best of my fellow man. And by the way, I always get advised. I get advised by friends, family, everybody. They always go, you're taking a racist route when you say it's the Somalis who are stealing money or it's the Arabs who are stealing money, right, in Minnesota. You go too far when you can label it a racial or a cultural issue. And many people will say that, and I will always defend myself by saying, why is it that every time I click on a story where so-and-so took $750,000 from his local community's checkbook, and suddenly I'm giving it the best, I'm willing to bet that it's the whitest motherfucker. They are Norwegian, they go to church every Sunday, they eat lefse at Christmas. I'm willing to bet that it's the whitest motherfucker, and 45 seconds in, they say the name. Oh, Bin Laden Mohammed went ahead, and I go, oh, god damn it. I wanted to assume I wanted to assume that it wouldn't be one of them. But it turned out as per the usual. Minnesota fraud suspect flees the country days before his trial. I'm going to assume that this gentleman is named Connor O'Murphy.
A major Medicaid fraud trial in Hennepin County is now canceled after the defendant disappeared.
I wonder what his name is.
For Abdi Rashid Saeed.
What was that? Wait. His name wasn't Buckley Swanson?
After the defendant disappeared. Authorities are searching for Abdi Rashid Saeed, charged for his role.
Abdi Rashid Saeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was not Tanner Oakley. That was not Jeff Billingsley. That was, what was it again? One more time for the audience at home so that they cannot accuse me of being racist.
Disappeared. Authorities are searching for Abdi Rashid Saeed, charged for his role in an $11
We're watching an Aladdin
million
movie.
scheme.
We're watching an Aladdin movie. We are in the middle of his eyes. Look at this fucker. I'm going to leave him in the description. His eyes are going two different directions. This is oh my God. Over 11. Okay. Let's hear his crimes one more time.
Rashid Saeed, charged for his role in an $11 million scheme. And as Lou Ragoose is here to explain, all it took was $150,000 to avoid the consequences.
Julie, it was a bail amount lower than prosecutors wanted, and it came with no guardrails. Abdi Rashid Saeed had his passport and technically no travel restrictions.
Part of our culture to help people.
Abdi Rashid Saeed is the original personal care assistant company fraudster who stole taxpayer money while claiming to operate out of this mailbox at an office on Central Avenue in Northeast Minneapolis. After he was convicted in 2021 and ordered to have nothing to do with companies that received Medicaid money, other PCA companies took his place at the Central Avenue office, and Saeed started receiving checks from them.
Would you look at that?
Checks for employment for you, Mr. Saeed? No.
No.
Loans.
At a probation violation hearing, Saeed claimed the checks were loans, including to pay back his restitution in the first fraud case. Investigators didn't buy it, and they charged Saeed, along with the owners of the other PCA companies, of racketeering, a conspiracy to steal $11 million of taxpayer money, uncovering text messages between them saying things like
him and a guy named Ibrahim. Guys, this sounds like it might not be. I think it's just as many white people doing it as the Islamabads.
Like, I'm gonna overbill the hours.
No, our culture is we trust one another.
Prosecutors also charged Saeed with perjury, and his trial Monday was set to be the crowning moment in the state's long investigation. But according to multiple sources, he has instead successfully fled the country. How? He had no travel restrictions. At a bail hearing after he was charged, prosecutors wanted to set bail at $1 million, but Judge Juan Hoyos gave Saeed two options. A $50,000 bond where he gives up his passport, or a $150,000 bond with no conditions.
Oh
Saeed
my God.
opted for the higher amount, and he kept his passport. Attorney General Keith Ellison in a statement saying, in part, "This is a deeply frustrating setback. However, I remain committed to doing everything I can to hold Saeed and the other Medicaid fraudsters accountable."
Keith Ellison, he's doing his best to load up that cash on a flight back to Agrabah so that he can hang out with those guys in a palace.
But Ellison said that they're working.
Keith Ellison is a crook. He's a fucking cheat. He is a monster in the political realm. He has no sympathy for people beyond the Crips, the Bloods, and the criminals that he's known for defending. He needs to be excommunicated from his position. Honestly, he needs to be fired. He needs to be removed. Anything you can do he needs to be away from the leverages of justice. You should never let a crook run the levers of power.
With federal law enforcement to try to locate Saeed and bring him to justice, my sources tell me that they don't know what country Saeed ended up in. One last thing, Julie. I just in the last hour discovered a document that the Attorney General's office filed before that bail was set, where they warned that Saeed's family lives in Kenya, his wife and his kids, and they worried that he would try to run.
Go get his kids. Go get his kids and hold them hostage. Arabian Nights. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Deadly explosion rocks the Panama Canal Bridge. Shit, man. I think that I can see my cousins or some shit at the base of this bridge. They're freaking out.
This is the moment a massive fireball consumed the area directly beneath one of Panama's most iconic landmarks, the famed Bridge of the Americas.
Woo.
The blast killed one worker, according to local fire officials, injuring 4 others, and terrifying drivers. And the bus passengers you see here crossing the span at the time. Panama Fire says several firefighters were injured, suffering from respiratory problems and minor first and second degree burns. According to officials, the fire broke out on Monday during a fuel transfer involving 3 tanker trucks carrying diesel and gasoline. 2 firefighters were among the injured, and 2 fire trucks were damaged during the all-out effort to extinguish the blaze.
Well,
fire investigation is still in its early stages, this official says, adding it would be premature to speculate about the exact cause. It happened in an area subleased to a private operator by Panama Oil Terminals S.A., which in a statement says it is now cooperating with investigators.
That's not
Officials
suspicious.
say the fire was extinguished within 4 hours and was out at the bridge itself within a matter of minutes.
That's great to hear. At least they didn't have any more troubles beyond that. Let's cover our last story, ladies and gentlemen, and I will release you to whatever it is Monday demands of you. Experts are saying that Gen Z is taking longer than ever to hit this key milestone of getting their driver's licenses or get in a relationship. They are calling this a trouble in emerging adulthood. Let's go. Boom. Experts are saying that it's getting tougher for a lot of these younger kids to meet up to traditional standards. What traditional standards do I mean? Traditional standards in the sense where I'm not saying you gotta go get married, you gotta go do whatever by the age of 25. No, I'm saying you have to have a driver's license by the age of 25. A lot of these kiddos that are of the Gen Z generation, they are hitting these milestones later in life. Let me be clear, Obama style. This is a horror show. This is everything that BlackRock, this is everything that Uber, this is everything that DoorDash wants Gen Z to be. They don't want Gen Z to be a generation of independent folk. They don't want Gen Z to be a generation of people who pay to get their own cars. They don't want Gen Z to be people who pay to get their own houses. They want Generation Z to be a series of people who lease their cars, people who rent where they own, people who DoorDash what they want to eat at night. People who do not go to the grocery store and cook for themselves. They want you to not even own a car. They want you to Uber all over your city. They want 15-minute cities. They want people to live in smaller areas. They don't want you to travel nearly as much. They don't want true freedom in many ways. They don't want you. You really think that that the main concern for people who work at BlackRock is, oh, we want people to be able to grow their own wheat or like their own grass for their shakes in the morning? No, they're worried about how can we maximize the space that we have on this land, that we can cram as many people into these buildings that we've designed for like minimalistic Japanese style living. They're pulling from Asian design every day that they're making these tiny needle-shaped apartment buildings. Let's be honest here. This is a travesty because Gen Z is unfortunately falling in. They like the infantilization, unfortunately. A lot of Gen Z, they felt lost after high school. They didn't really know what the future was. They watched many millennials get rich on YouTube, but they watched many millennials fucking make it on their own on doing BuzzFeed. They watch them get out of college and like struggle to get a job. They watch many Gen Xers and whatnot get careers in shit they never even use their degree for. They're like, so what the fuck? You work at this fucking general store and you have a degree in fucking psychology? Like what are you doing here, my guy? They're like, what I'm trying to say is that Gen Z had the example in front of them of many different things where it's like, oh, you can invest a lot of time into your degree and you can invest a lot of time into your career, and just because of how the market turns out, you're fucked. That's just the unfortunate reality. So what many Gen Zers, instead of moving forward with a can-do attitude. Fine, I'll work as a fucking welder's apprentice. I'll go do that one job. I'll work at a fucking gas station for a while. I'll work at a fucking, a liquor store for a minute. Maybe I'll work on my people skills. Instead of that, many of them are comfy living at home with mom. Many of them are comfy, getting their laundry done by people who, really need to be working on the retirement plans. Like listen, guys, they raised you for over 20 or so, however many years and whatnot. They need a break. I'm sure that moms love having the kiddos around. I'm sure that they enjoy the company and everything, but moms deserve a break, by the end of the kiddo term. They deserve to be like, yo, let's go do weekends at like fucking, let's go do a weekend in Vegas and shit. Let's go fly and enjoy our money. Let's go. When your parents' retirement age, I'd say like retirement age is the final cutoff for many Americans. It's like, give mom and dad a time to enjoy the money that they've stacked up. Listen, they've worked goddamn hard for that, and they need to enjoy it without kids present. But Gen Z, unfortunately, is not getting the message. Many jokes have been made about the parents lightly shoving for kids to move out, all that sort of stuff. Many, unfortunately, are not doing that anymore. Many are not doing the birds leave the nest technique anymore. Many of them are doing multi-generational living. And I think that this happens with any country over the age of about 300 years old. Any country over the age of a couple hundred years, you start to see multi-generational living. You start to see the stratifying of your economy, of like the class systems become a little bit more obvious. Gen Z, unfortunately, is becoming an example of where we're starting to come into that European style of living. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's kind of debatable as to whether or not you think it is. I think that this traditional timeline for growing up, shifting, the new data that we're seeing for Generation Z, it's taking a noticeably slower path to adulthood than their parents and their grandparents did. According to recent sociological studies, young people today are delaying in major milestones like getting a driver's license, entering serious romantic relationships, or moving out of the family home. Well into their early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, we're talking about. Many for this generation, they're on track to be here into their 30s. That's what I'm saying, is that many people, it's fine shacking up there for a while. It's fine finding a good place to call home for a long, steady while after maybe you went to school, maybe you're in school, all that sort of stuff. It's good to rely on your parents for that period of time. But many people are on track to stay this way. Many in this generation, the typical markers of independence that they used to have at around 18 are now being pushed back several years. They're relying on mom and dad for the ride. A trend that researchers are saying is reshaping the American socio-economic, social fabric, everything. Sociologist Jeffrey Jensen Arnett argues that if this isn't necessarily a sign of laziness, but rather an arrival of a brand new life stage he calls emerging adulthood. What? Arnett explains that this period of 18 to 29 has become a distinct chapter of life, characterized by identity exploration and a focus on their self in the economy. That requires more advanced schooling and specialized training. Many young people feel like they can simply not afford to settle down or take on adult responsibilities until they have secured. It's a license. What are we talking? An adult responsibility. These are the type of people that are like, I know that I have like really bad smelling clothes. It's such trouble to do the laundry. Oh, I know that my apartment is disgusting. Oh, but I hate doing the dishes by hand, and my dishwasher's busted. It's people with no drive, no initiative, no get it done attitude. Let's hear a little bit from ABC before I let y'all go.
Getting your driver's license used to be a rite of passage for teenagers.
Hell yeah.
Gen Z is going down a different road. Experts say younger people are increasingly hitting milestones later in life.
Yeah, they're bums. You talk to a lot of people who are like 26, 27, and they're like, yeah, I don't have my license. I just get like Uber all of the time. And it's like, okay, yeah, in the meantime, when you're living in the city, maybe that'll work. But if you plan to do anything anytime with your life, like moving out in the sticks, I know a lot of people think of that as settling down eventually, but like settling down is settling down. It's a good spot to be in life for a reason.
Not just in driving, they're waiting longer to finish their education and get married, too. Joining us now for more on this is Professor of Psychology at Clark University, Jeffrey Jensen Arnett. Professor, you say that these late in life or later in life milestones are part of a new stage of adulthood called emerging adulthood. Explain that to us and what it means.
Well, all the things that have been traditionally associated with
adulthood now come later than they did before. They not only get their driver's license later, they're later to have their first sexual relationship, they're later to finish their education, they're later to enter marriage and parenthood. 30 is really the new 20 now, and all those things happen a decade later than it did before. That's opened up a new life stage of emerging adulthood in between adolescence and full adulthood.
You had me at 30 as the new 20 there. Okay, so why is Gen Z hitting these milestones later than other generations?
Well, there are a lot of reasons. A lot of it is that they don't really have to. I mean, they have now a sort of cultural approval to take their own time making their way to adulthood. And so they're, I think, quite wisely taking...
Fuck are you talking about? Once you're 18, you're an adult. Once you're 18, you're an adult. You're responsible for your choice. I know that they're going like, oh, they're taking their time on owning a house. They're taking their time on all... Yeah. Get a license, drive yourself around, be independent, like have a job, do that sort of thing. You can get your help in whatever categories you want, but have some degree of like, oh, if I want to go to Walmart, I can take myself like a goddamn adult. I don't have to ask a buddy, hey, is anybody going to Walmart anytime today?
Advantage of the extraordinary freedom that they have in their 20s to do as they like before they enter the commitments and the rewards, but also the burdens of adult life.
So big picture, what does this mean? Could hitting these milestones later actually be a good thing? And if so, why?
Probably not.
Well,
that's my assumption.
It's a good thing because all of the things that the baby boomers like me used to do in our teens are less common now. And that means less negative consequences.
Like coke? What are you talking about?
Later driving also means fewer accidents and fatalities in your teens. Later, first sexual relationships means fewer STIs and lower teenage pregnancy.
These kids aren't getting their dicks wet enough. They're not pissing sweet yet enough.
Less drinking and substance use means less of the crazy kinds of things that people do under the influence of alcohol and drugs. So these things aren't really to be deplored, I don't think. We should allow them their own path to adulthood and recognize that it's good in many ways.
Listen, Gen Z, there's going to be a lot more of them around. I will say that. Because boomers, they're talking about how, like, yeah, these kids, they're so smart. They're not doing, like, anal infusions of vodka like we used to do back in the 70s. And I'm like, well, yeah. Yeah, I think that nowadays they're just doing things like vaping, and that'll probably take out their lungs by the age of, 40? We're going to make our assumptions because we don't have the science yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you sitting around as long as you have with me to enjoy the news of the day. I had a great time putting it together for you. I hope that you had a great time listening to it. We're going to have even more to talk about this week as more continues, so subscribe if you'd like more, ring the bell for notifications, like if you liked it. In the meantime, I have been your host, Ollie Volt Larson. Thank you so very much for listening. This has been your broadcast for your brain on air. I will catch you tomorrow. In the meantime, bye-bye.